To be of service. My friend Fredo Vida, the first concierge I ever worked with, was the first person I watched sign on a signature line, "Yours in service." Initially, I thought it was kind of hokey. Since he had worked in some very high-profile luxury hotels, was a member of the renowned Les Clés d'Or, and had served as president of the Los Angeles Concierge Association, I figured maybe this was just a thing they say in fancy places. What it meant was, I will always put you first, and I will always find a way to be of service to you. And after working with Fredo for a year, I got to see exactly what that meant in action. This was how he approached hospitality. He lived it. He taught me how important each detail is, and that the name of the game is repeat guests. How are you going to make sure they come back? How are you going to anticipate their needs and make this a memorable moment for them? He taught me how to hunt for opportunity, to be a hospitality detective, to find connection points with guests, and to personalize my service to their unique needs. Nick Payton, the well-known restaurateur from Cyrus in Healdsburg, told me, "For the service industry, you are a people pleaser. You actually want that to the very edge of dysfunction. That is going to drive your intuition and anticipation because you want that. You work for that little thrill that we enlivened somebody's life. You know when you hit it, oh my God, those people went out of here floating on a cloud. And part of that was because of how I orchestrated that meal, how I made that happen for them." In a service economy that seeks to please customers and guests through service, I see a lot of opportunity missed. If we aren't connecting with guests, why would they come back? How are we creating return guests and sustaining revenue streams? We don't want to fall into the trap of thinking another customer will just walk through the door. The National Restaurant Association estimates a 20% success rate for all restaurants, and 80% fail within 5 years of opening. With those kind of failure rates, we can't take our guests for granted or make assumptions. In order to be a part of the successful 20%, we need to personalize our interactions, anticipate our guests' needs, and ensure they return. Being proactive and looking for little red flags will help us see possible issues before our guests do. Pay attention. This is the service part. I think it's dangerous to create a false narrative telling ourselves, they didn't say they hated it, so they must have loved it, or they didn't mind, or they would have definitely said something. Or my least favorite saying of all time, it was good enough. Most people are not big fans of confrontation. They aren't going to tell you to your face that their steak was overcooked, or they are annoyed they had to wait 30 minutes for their entrees or 17 minutes for a cocktail. When a server or manager comes to the table and asks a generalized question like, "How is everything?" or "Sorry about the wait, but it's a great steak, isn't it?" they will just receive a generalized response, a nod, a grunt, or possibly, "It's fine, thanks." Most of the time, people are going to avoid being direct. They won't tell you, "You really dropped the ball," or "You should have someone pay closer attention to the ticket times and ensure the server writes the order down correctly." They are simply not going to return, and they may decide to post their negative experience on social media. We should all be searching for feedback. All of us. Servers, runners, supervisors, managers, chefs, owners. The phrase "no feedback is great feedback" may sink you. That's the equivalent of a company canceling their reporting and feedback channels so no one can see the numbers or measure experiences. I don't know of any customer-driven business where that model leads to success. You should be looking for real-time information. Any information that can help the restaurant and team do better. Being of service means we are on the lookout to make the guest experience great. Trying to read a table, read a room, read a person, and fix a situation before it becomes one. Owners and managers should be coaching teams to pay attention to guests, details, and the systems in place to create a nice dining experience. This doesn't mean your team has to hover and overservice every table, but they do need to have their radar on. It's essential to ask the right questions. Is your service effective? Are your food and service consistently up to standard? Are you paying attention to the verbal and nonverbal cues of each guest? If you can beat the guest to the issue while focusing on making small connections, your service will bring people back. Coaching and training on these types of questions is essential. That training and coaching requires an investment, and the guest will know the difference. I asked restaurateur Tom Crosby, known for his company's diligent training practices, what if you put all this effort into training your employees and they leave? He responded with 7 words. What if I don't and they stay? Mic drop. Consistent and accountable. While we're going to dive into a lot of aspects of service, it's very important to come back to 3 simple things. Do your employees know the steps of service and standards you want them to execute? Do they know the details of the menu items and drinks you serve? Are you consistently coaching on service and holding them accountable when they don't know these details of the role? I think this book provides some very useful information, but if this book is to be used in the best way, then it should be coached consistently. Over time, I guarantee you will see amazing results in both your own growth as a leader and your team's overall performance. 1 to 10. One of my first jobs in an upscale restaurant was a place called Blue Velvet in downtown Los Angeles. It was a cool, hip restaurant. I got put on lunches to start because that's what happens when you're the new guy. During my 3rd shift, the chef, Chris Morningstar, came out and pointed to a couple waiting at the host stand and said, "What number would you assign those people based on how you think they are feeling?" I was confused. What do you mean? He responded a little more abruptly. That couple, there, waiting to be sat. On a scale of 1 to 10, how would you say they're feeling? I looked at them and responded, I don't know, maybe a 7? He replied, Great. Your job is to make sure that number is an 8, 9, or 10 by the time they leave. Understand? Yes, chef. And he walked back into the kitchen. I think that might be the simplest and most spot-on lesson in service I'd ever had. It was time to move into action. Change a story. Be of service.